Søren Kierkegaard was born on May 5, 1813, in Copenhagen, Denmark, and died on November 11, 1855, at just 42 years old. Despite his short life, he left behind a body of work that profoundly shaped philosophy, theology, and literature. Raised in a wealthy but melancholic household, Kierkegaard was deeply influenced by his father, a retired merchant tormented by guilt. This influence, combined with personal turmoil and spiritual intensity, defined Søren's inner life and intellectual journey. His writings, many under pseudonyms, reflect a mind constantly wrestling with life's paradoxes, committed to awakening that single individual from the spiritual slumber of 19th-century Christendom. Kierkegaard's intellectual journey began with his doctoral dissertation on the concept of irony in 1841. At 28, he already challenged the dominant Hegelian philosophy. In this work, he elevates Socratic irony, not merely as a rhetorical device, but as a way of being that resists dogmatism and affirms individuality. Socrates, who feigned ignorance and asked probing questions, becomes Kierkegaard's model for resisting the conformity of the crowd. The work sets the stage for Kierkegaard's lifelong emphasis on personal truth and subjective experience, core themes of what would later be called existentialism. In 1843, Kierkegaard published a series of landmark texts. Either or, a sprawling two-volume work presented through the pseudonym Victor Eremita, contrasts two ways of life. The aesthetic, represented by a pleasure-seeking young man, and the ethical, championed by Judge Wilhelm, who values responsibility and commitment. Kierkegaard doesn't resolve the tension, he forces readers to choose for themselves. That same year, Fear and Trembling, under the pseudonym Johannes de Silentio, explores faith through the biblical story of Abraham and Isaac. Here, Kierkegaard introduces the teleological suspension of the ethical, the idea that obedience to God can transcend moral norms, and the knight of faith, who believes and obeys beyond all reason. This work reflects his own painful decision to break off his engagement to Regin Olsen, a sacrifice he saw as necessary for his spiritual calling. In 1844, Kierkegaard intensified his output. Philosophical Fragments asks if truth can be learned, contrasting Socratic recollection with the Christian claim that truth arrives in the form of a divine teacher, Christ, who interrupts history and must be accepted by faith. In the concept of anxiety, he links anxiety to freedom, portraying it as the psychological precondition for sin, but also for spiritual awakening. This work prefigures modern existential psychology. Amid these deep philosophical texts, Kierkegaard also offered more accessible works. Prefaces, under the name Nicolaus Notabene, satirizes Copenhagen's literary pretensions. While three upbuilding discourses, under his real name, offers spiritual encouragement, focusing on God's goodness and human patience. This blend of ironic distance and pastoral care would characterize much of his work. In Stages on Life's Way, Kierkegaard revisits the three stages of existence, aesthetic, ethical, and religious, with more nuance. The book includes a banquet dialogue on love, a defense of marriage, and a haunting diary of a man unable to commit, echoes of his own inner divisions. His magnum opus, concluding unscientific postscript, proclaims that truth is subjectivity. This massive work challenges the idea that truth lies in objective knowledge, insisting instead that it requires personal passion and commitment. It ends with Climacus revoking the entire project, a move that playfully but seriously underscores Kierkegaard's point: faith cannot be systematized. That same year, he published a literary review under his own name, critiquing the present age as one of dispassion and conformity, diagnosing the spiritual shallowness he believed had infected modern life. His social alienation was intensified by a public scandal involving the Corsair, a satirical journal that mocked him mercilessly. From the late 1840s on, Kierkegaard's work became more overtly religious. Upbuilding Discourses in Various Spirits meditates on purity, simplicity, and suffering. Works of Love, also from 1847, explores Christian love in all its depth, distinguishing it from romantic and preferential forms of love. These texts reveal both his idealism and his disillusionment with the Church. In Christian Discourses, he addresses topics like anxiety, suffering, and grace with increasing urgency. The lily of the field and the bird of the air offers gentle reflection, while The Sickness unto Death provides a profound analysis of despair as a failure to become one's true self in relation to God. Faith, he says, is the antidote. In Practice in Christianity, Anticlimacus presents Christ not as a figure to be admired, but one to be imitated, especially in suffering. Kierkegaard's critique of Christendom now takes center stage. He argues the institutional church has lost its way, turning discipleship into passive assent. In On My Work as an Author, he reflects on his life's mission to awaken his readers to true Christianity, not through doctrine but by confrontation and decision. His final works, For Self-Examination and Judge for Yourself, urges direct engagement with Scripture, calling for action rather than intellectual assent. These late writings are urgent and personal, written as his health declined and his isolation grew. Kierkegaard's life, shaped by his father's guilt, his broken engagement, public ridicule, and chronic illness, was deeply intertwined with his writing. His use of pseudonyms allowed him to explore perspectives without committing to them, while his signed works expressed his deepest convictions. His central themes, irony, freedom, anxiety, faith, and love, form a coherent vision of human existence as a passionate struggle before God. He rejected both the abstraction of Hegelian philosophy and the complacency of institutional religion. For Kierkegaard, truth had to be lived, not just understood. Christianity, for him, was not about belief alone, but transformation. Though he called himself a corrective rather than a founder, Kierkegaard's influence has been vast. He helped lay the groundwork for existentialism and inspired thinkers like Heidegger, Sartre, Tillich, and more. His defense of the individual against the crowd remains strikingly relevant in today's world of conformity, while his insights into despair and hope still speak to the depths of the human soul. In the end, Kierkegaard did not leave us with a system, but with a voice, restless, piercing, and urgent, calling each of us to face ourselves, to take the leap of faith, and to stand, trembling yet resolute, before God. Thank you for watching. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button and stay tuned for more content on the Philosophy series.